Would you believe that a day of affliction and atonement is some people's favorite holiday? Not just for weirdos. Who you calling a weirdo? Greetings, hero. It is I, your friendly neighborhood rabbi, and today we're going to talk about Yom Kippur, which means Day of Atonement in the Hebrew language. Actually, we're going to talk about Yom Kippur for several videos, but today we're going to get started discussing where it comes from in the Torah and what the general practices are. But first, if you are just joining us, not as a part of the 31-day Fall Jewish Holiday Challenge, that's a thing. Here in the month of August, I'm doing 31 videos on various topics related to the fall holidays that Jewish people do. That's Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, and everything in between. And you can get hooked up to every single one of these videos by joining the Fall Holiday Challenge. All you gotta do is click on the first link in the show notes below, or wait to the end of the video and I'll give you another link to click. And if you do that, you'll get a downloadable guide to the Jewish holidays that I prepared just for you. You'll get links to all 31 videos. And if you join before the end of August, you just might win a prize. So click on that link now, or maybe wait till later and find out all about that. But for right now, let's get into Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, or the Day of Atonement, is considered the holiest day of the Jewish calendar year. And believe it or not, it is some people's favorite holiday. I know this because in my line of work, I talk to a lot of Jewish people, or people who are becoming Jewish. And I like to ask, what's your favorite holiday? The most common answer is Passover, which is weird because those crackers are terrible. But people really appreciate getting together with family and friends around a table for a big meal and telling an awesome story. The second most popular answer is Yom Kippur. And I think it's because many people really appreciate that dedicated day of the year for solemn, personal, deep reflection. Whereas Passover is a much more communal holiday, Yom Kippur is more like a solo holiday that you do in a big crowd of people. First, let's talk about where it comes from. We find mention of Yom Kippur in two main places in the Torah. One is in Leviticus chapter 16, and that chapter is pretty much all about Yom Kippur and how the priests would atone for the sins of the people of Israel and how people would atone for their own sins. That takes up a lot of chapter 16. There's a goat involved. We don't do that anymore. Or do we? And then it's talked about again in chapter 23, which is a whole big overview of all the major biblical Jewish holidays, including Yom Kippur, which falls every year on the 10th day of the month of Tishrei. You may think it's on a different day every year, but only if you're following one of those fancy schmancy secular calendars. And I'll give you the exact chapter and verse citations in the show notes below. But to sum up, from both of these readings, we learned a couple of important things about Yom Kippur, what its purpose is and what we should do or not do. First, this is considered a Shabbat Shabbaton. It's like a Sabbath of Sabbaths. The Shabbat to end all Shabbats, only don't stop doing Shabbat. Every restriction we have on Shabbat against creative or destructive work also applies on Yom Kippur. This is supposed to be a day of complete rest. It's also a day in which the Torah calls on us to afflict our souls. And by doing this, we culminate the 10 days of repentance, and plus any pre-work you did in Elul, and any atoning you did throughout the year. But this is like the Super Bowl of atonement without the pizzas. But I'll get to that in a minute. No wings. By abstaining from all manner of work, by afflicting our souls, by focusing entirely on our deeds and how to make up for them, it is said that this is how we achieve atonement before God. And that before God piece is important, because Maimonides teaches us that Yom Kippur is a day to atone for sins between a person and God. Specifically because, as he says, if you have sinned against another person but have not made up for it, no amount of Yom Kippur will make up for that until you make amends with that person. However, any sins between you and God that didn't harm any other people, that's things like forgetting about Shabbat, that's things like making an oopsie and eating shrimp and ham and stuff like that. Things that you did that nobody else saw. Things that you did that you think nobody else was injured by. Errors that you made or good things that you neglected or forgot to do, Yom Kippur is intended to make up for that as best you can. And part of the way that we accomplish this is through prayer, but a very noticeable part of how we accomplish this is through this soul affliction thing. And the hard part is the Torah doesn't exactly tell us, here's how to afflict your soul. Step 1, take out your soul. Nothing like that. It just says afflict them. And so the rabbis of later generations discussed how a soul gets afflicted. And they agreed that it was basically by abstaining from bodily needs. Things like taking in food or drink. Things like bathing and getting all gussied up. Things like having sex with people. I should say a person. And we'll discuss all those in detail in the next video. But the most important things to understand in this video is that God gave us Yom Kippur in the Torah as a way to correct ourselves, as a way to get right, as a way to get right with God. And even though I said that Yom Kippur doesn't atone for sins between one person and another, because this is a time of year where all the community is gathered in atonement, it's also a good opportunity to say, look, buddy, I'm seeing you for the first time this year, or the first time since I did that bad thing that I regret. Will you forgive me? Yom Kippur is a great time to do that. And to let us focus on all this atonement, we set aside our worldly needs. We have a day of complete rest to gather, focus on those things about ourselves we want to let go, focus on those things that we want to take on, and make sure we start the new year fresh. That's all for today's video, kicking off our discussion of Yom Kippur. In future videos, we'll talk about the specific things that we do to make our souls feel all afflicty, how to do those things, when not to do those things, as well as the specific Torah readings for Yom Kippur and prayers unique to this important holiday. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel, and if you're subscribed and you see a little picture of a bell, ding that bell so you'll get notified every time I make a new video. And if you really want to get the most out of the fall Jewish holidays this year, once again, click on the first link you see in the show notes below, or put your clicky thingy on this little orange square over here. So you can sign up for the 31-day Fall Jewish Holiday Challenge. You will immediatamente get a downloadable guide to the Jewish holidays. Then after that, links to other videos, so that by being fully informed about the holidays, you can have the most meaningful and most joyful experience possible. Until next time, hero, peace.